Yeah. Man, forget this job, dog. Yeah. Working this graveyard shift, I hate it. 6 in the morning, I'm off, I made it. When I get home, I'ma make this clear. First thing I'ma drink is a Rainier beer. I ain't no lush, shut up.
Hello, it's Adam Morrison. When it comes to top-tier contracting, my go-to choice is McGilvery Environmental. I know a thing or two about excellence, and that's exactly what you'll find with Kip McGilvery and his team. They're not just any contractor, they're the best in Spokane and North Idaho. From start to finish, they ensure your project is completed with the highest quality results. With years of experience and expertise, they handle it all. New construction, meticulous repairs, asphalt paving for residential and commercial properties, excavation, and even environmental remediation. So why wait? Reach out to Kip McGilvery Environmental today by calling 208-556-6384 for your free estimate. Don't forget to mention my name, Adam Morrison, and experience the difference McGilvery Environmental brings to the table. Again, that's 208-556-6384, McGilvery Environmental. My number one choice for all my contracting needs. The Perimeter with Adam Morrison is proudly sponsored by New Love Coffee, serving exceptional coffee while supporting Gonzaga athletics through their partnership with the Zags Collective. New Love Coffee is a specialty coffee company with 3 locations in Kennedy Yards, North Spokane, and Liberty Lake, Washington, offering crafted coffee beverages, tea, and delicious hand pies from Bean and Pie. Committed to quality, all their coffee is single origin and freshly roasted at the original Liberty Lake location. Here's the exciting part. You can now order their freshly roasted coffee online, with every purchase supporting the Zags Collective's mission to uplift Gonzaga student athletes. Try their half decaf blend, a perfect combination of medium roasted decaf and light roasted African coffee. Ideal for espresso, pour over, or cold brew at home. Coffee ships fresh every Thursday, so place your order today at newlovecoffee and zagscollective.com. And feel your mornings while making a difference for the Zags.
The podcast intro song is Get Up by Jinx Universe. Listen to his music on Spotify and follow him on social media at I am Jinx Universe.
Yeah. Man, forget this job, dog. Yeah. Working this graveyard shift, I hate it. 6 in the morning, I'm off, I made it. When I get home, I'ma make this clear. First thing I'ma drink.
Season 4, Episode 8 of The Perimeter, sponsored by McGilvery Environmental, Idaho Central Credit Union, New Love Coffee. Fellas are back from the Bahamas. Mostly successful trip. I thought it was good. There's more silver linings than bad. Interesting to watch. That first game, we'll get into that. We'll talk about a little bit of the Indiana game, and then I'm just going to probably glaze over Davidson. I don't think it's worth our time to, and that's not a knock, but that was a clear mismatch physically, and our guys did the right thing and took care of business and got home. I think that will be a decent win for us, but I don't think we need to cover that too much. Go over the big game coming up on Saturday, battle in Seattle, third game of I think a 5-game series with Kentucky. Obviously, we thought it was going to be against Calipari.
Yeah.
But it's funny how the world works, especially college basketball. Mark Pope takes over, former BYU coach. He's got them rolling right now.
Yeah.
Number 4, what did I see? 4 and 6 in the country.
Yep.
It's Kentucky basketball, but new life, new voice, new philosophy, perhaps. So that'll be a fun matchup. We've won the last 2. We won the last one in Rupp Arena, which was fantastic. And then 2 years ago, that game in the Spokane Arena, which kind of kicked off the new Spokane Arena likeness for everybody, Gonzaga basketball-wise. So we got a lot to cover. First and foremost, I think when you have a loss early in one of these tournaments, people can, it's not completely jump off the bandwagon, but, they're not focused or whatever. That West Virginia team is really good and well coached. DeVries, he's a terrific young coach, or younger, who built a Drake program back up, and then took that job. That's a really good hire for West Virginia. Not just because they beat Gonzaga. I'm watching on how they handle personnel, coaching style, play style, all those things matter. It's not just a win or loss. New actions, zoom cuts, side ball screens, ghost screens, Spain action, all those things that you kind of look for in a new offense and a new way to get good offensive players to come to your school and potentially pros. That's what they run, similar to us. He had 5 transfers, which was brilliant. So even if you got gutted on the transfer portal, he brought some of his own guys. His son was terrific. And I thought their game plan early was really solid. If you would notice, they picked up Ryan Nembhard full court the whole game. And it's not like Nolan Hickman can't bring the ball. He played point guard 2 years here. It's not like Khalif Battle can't do that, any of those guys. But Ryan's had such a fantastic assist season that taking the ball out of his hands was going to cause some disruption, even if it was just minor at the start. So I think that to start the ball game was absolutely terrific. Yeah. It was just smart, and they really made it difficult for him to get in a rhythm and just us to get in a rhythm from a floor game perspective early on. I thought. If you look at the numbers, Graham didn't have a great first half, didn't have a great game to start. Was kind of slow and sloppy a little bit as far as getting to his low block touches and getting a rhythm going. Got some fouls as well. Then Micah Ajayi didn't have a terrific game. He was 2 of 5, only had 7 points. They did a good job of kind of playing him away from his strengths, keep him off the glass, make him take tough contested twos, things of that nature. So in that first half, I thought, we were obviously up 8, played good, but you felt like West Virginia obviously was still in the basketball game and we weren't in our complete flow offensively. I know we're in the 90s and 39's not, it was 39-31, 39's not terrible, but it just felt sloppy, like we were never completely in a full rhythm. And you're not always going to have that, but more or less you'd think if you're looking at what the line was, what our strengths were compared to that team, that you thought we'd have a little bit more. So I credit West Virginia's kind of toughness there in that first half to stay within the game. Did I feel terribly that we were only up 8? Absolutely not. But it was still like, well, this is going to be a basketball game. It's going to be the tale of, the first 5-minute type of deal, first media timeout going into the second half. If we're able to, extend that lead and really make a mark on the game. Going into the second half, I thought, let's try to get Graham going. Let's try to get Micah Ajayi going. And that just did not happen. They both played under 18 minutes each. Totality, the real story offensively for us was Braden Huff, who was terrific off the bench. He goes 9 of 14, has 19 points, played 30 minutes. Just really having a fantastic, was this third year? Second year, third year, red shirt. So second year on the court. Fantastic second year, and just really showing that he's a big-time player, was a big-time recruit. Scoring the basketball any which way he can. Obviously inside. Ben Gray got a solid game, gives us 9.6 rebounds, 7 and 8 from the free throw line. Caleb Battle, who was really good in the first half, I think got held to like 3 points in the second. 6 of 12, overall has 16, but he was humming early offensively, and then they took him away, which was a smart defensive maneuver and adjustment. Nolan Hickman goes 5 for 11, 13 points, 3 rebounds. He was good as well. But in that second half, West Virginia just kept kind of hanging with her. We could not extend the lead to where, we felt really comfortable. Our biggest lead was 10. Their biggest lead was 8. That was obviously at the end of the game. There was 14 lead changes and 7 ties. So obviously it was a back and forth affair. But I thought in that second half, they did a good job of staying within the game, making counter runs and not really allowing us to get in a continuous rhythm. We only shot at 45% in the second half, 41 in the first, so a little bit of improvement. But we only took 3 3-pointers in the second half, 1 for 3. Obviously, we were trying to get it inside, but they kind of took us away from our perimeter style and did a good job of guarding guys out on the perimeter. Get out rebounded by 6, which is always a key. I talk about it on my broadcasts. I talk about it all the time here. If you can't win the rebounding battle in big-time games, it's hard to win. It's obvious. And so West Virginia did a good job of, really, having a lot of effort and energy on the glass. They got a huge game from Javon Small, their point guard, who I thought was terrific. He was the one that's face guarding. Nembhard was 9 of 18, 4-10 from downtown, 9-11 from the free throw line, 31.7 rebounds. Really paced them scoring wise. They get 19 from Hansberry. He was terrific as well, 19 and 8. He was great. They get 10 from Akani, who kind of was just off the ball, didn't really have to run anything for him. And then the coach's kid, DeVries, who didn't shoot it terrific, but still gives him 16, goes 4 for 9, 2 of 6 from downtown, 6 of 7, and then 6 rebounds, 4 assists. So, we had that game kind of not complete under control, but felt comfortable. We're up 5 with 25 seconds, 30 seconds. And probably the biggest play of the game. There's 2 biggest plays of the game late. Now, when I say these things, it's not trying to knock a kid or whatever, but I have to explain what kind of happened. We're up 5 going into timeout. We check in Inocente to play defense. All right. Remember at the end of the game, he was a late, didn't play at all in the first half. Didn't play at all, obviously, in the second half. He comes in to play defense because they have 4 perimeters out there. And our plan was to switch. So they run a ghost screen action with DeVries. And what I mean by ghost screen, it's kind of a new terminology, a new kind of way of running an offense or an action, I guess is the better way to say it. People switch a lot now, which I'm a firm believer in switching like size always. It just makes it easier, and you can be really good at it, and there's a technique to do it. It's not just laziness, but if you can switch and take away different actions, you're really good defensively, in my opinion. If you watch the NBA, a lot of teams switch. Our best teams in the past have switched. Remember the BC, Rui, J3, Snacks, that crew, they switched everything. People couldn't run nothing, right?
Yeah.
And then the Corey's crew with Joel, Corey, all those guys, Jalen, go ahead, run 7 ball screens. We'll just switch everything.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? Excuse me. So I think the idea of getting Inocente in the game made sense. He's a great, terrific defender. But the play was, the ghost screen was, let's say you have a ball screen coming or a look like a DHO, a dribble handoff, is you fake the screen and then you sprint off of it. So then the switch guy doesn't know if he should switch because there was not a screen. So you really have to commit, talk about it. Inocente was supposed to switch in theory with Nolan Hickman. He actually pushed him up. I think Nolan thought there was no screen and they ran a ghost DHO to DeVries. He gets that open 3, hits it. Not a big deal. Now we're up 2. And I think a lot of people were expecting them to foul right away. And I think there was probably 22 on the clock. So we still had 10 to get it across. But then if we did get it across, they were going to foul. So we get into Nembhard, he dribbles around, and they're face guarding kind of everybody, and he has to throw. And I think everybody's waiting for a trap. And I thought it was interesting they really didn't implore that very hard. They were still playing hard defense, but they were trying to get either a 10 or, dribble down the sideline situation for a trap. And they throw it to Nolan, and I think he was thinking the same thing when he got to half court, that I was going to get fouled. Guy picked him dead clean. Yeah. Goes down, lays it up. Oh, my God, we're going to overtime. Call timeout. No, let me rethink this. So I got to talk about the Nembhard substitution thing. Okay, yeah, so call timeout. They make a free throw. Yeah, isn't that what it is? You got to help me out here.
Yeah. In the last, didn't we foul them? They went to the line?
But they made a uncontested steal at half court to go lay it up. Okay, so I'm trying to think, whenever the Nembhard foul situation came about, Okay.
Yeah.
It was towards the end of the game. Obviously, they make their free throws to tie it. Okay. So when it happened is insignificant. It doesn't matter. I've had people ask me, can you make a substitution in that spot?
Right.
And what the rule says is time has to go off the clock if you make a substitution, and then you can't, sub back in. And it makes perfect sense. I've had friends that were texting me and asking or kind of complaining about it. Why is that a rule? It's for, like, let's say there's a dead ball, I sub, and then I look to see what offensive set you're running. Oh God, we need that guy back in. Can't, you know what I mean? You can't sit there and just sub without a play happening.
Right.
And so that's where we were a little bit confused from the bench, but I don't think it wasn't that big of a deal. It was a tie game by then. Okay. Or it was going to be a tie game. Here's the thought, the point I would make that maybe the rule changes or there's an addendum to it is a free throw is another play, even if time doesn't go off.
Right.
That's where I was confused because I think our staff probably thought the same thing is, okay, we subbed him out. They shoot a free throw. That's another play, but we still can't sub him in because no time goes off. Because if he obviously makes the free throw, no time goes off, you take the ball out. If you're smart as a coach, you substitute on the defensive side so you could set up your, you know what I mean? Especially late game, you have a sub at the bench. So you tell them to walk in slow, then you start setting up your defense. So that's where I thought I would assume the same thing, and that's just not me just saying it, that we could have subbed him back in. Now, at the end of the game, would have been nice to have him just for that one play, yeah, but we got into Caleb Battle's hands, and I thought he maybe had a chance to get fouled, but that wasn't the decider. The decider was the botched, Chente, Nolan Hickman switch.
Yeah.
And then, and Nolan's been terrific, but Nolan getting picked at half court and them laying it up.
So, what happened at the end there is Nolan got picked and then Nolan fouled.
Yes. Okay. They didn't lay it up. He had a breakaway. That's what it was. So then he got fouled. Okay. So I somehow thought that they made the breakaway layup, but I remember breakaway. Appreciate for clearing that up. But yeah, I thought overall going in that overtime, they obviously, West Virginia had the momentum, and they just kind of outplayed us in that overtime period. And we were kind of a little bit shocked on our back foot because, like I said, we were up 5 with under 30 seconds. And normally, a Gonzaga team kind of gets that out. But there was 2 mistakes at the end of the game that were critical. Like I said, I don't think the not having Nembhard out there for the last 4 seconds, obviously you'd want him to, but it wasn't it didn't make it, you know what I mean? It was a tie game and we still got a drive going towards the basket. Could have been a foul. I know he got drilled, but when you're watching games like that, if you watch a lot of college basketball, even NBA, like you if you dive into people late in the game, they're not going to call, you know what I'm saying? They're not, they don't want to call anything. So I think it was a fine no call, even though he got hit. It's like you were looking for the contact.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, I thought West Virginia in that overtime, they beat us 15-7, just made more plays, made more shots. They go, they go 3 of 5, and overtime when we go 2 for 10, just makes a big difference. They made, more shots, like I said, and we just got a little bit tight and couldn't get, good enough opportunities offensively and to finish them. And, it was the first time all year, obviously a loss, but the first time I thought that, we got out hustled a little bit, rebounding wise. They did a better job on the free throw line game. They go +4 against our 19 makes. They make 23. We don't shoot the 3 ball very well. We go 33%. They go 31, but they make 4 more. Okay, so that's kind of the effective field goal thing that I've talked about in other episodes in the past. That's the love-hate with the 3-point shot is, the more you take, the worse the game might look, but you can miss more as the more you take. It's still effective field goal. How many points are you getting per shot over time? And so, they obviously had a deal with the 3-point line. Like I said, I think he's a great coach, DeVries. I really liked his son's game. I liked that small kid, and then I thought their philosophy or their scheme defensively was terrific. They played EK and Ajayi, took them out of a game, and then they really made it difficult on Nembhard. He had a terrific floor game again, 12 assists, only 1 turnover, but he goes 1 for 10.
Yeah.
He couldn't get in a rhythm and goes 5 for 6. So he was good from a floor game perspective, but just couldn't get himself going offensively. And so we get our first loss of the year. It was kind of surprising for, I think, a lot of fans. But again, I said it on the previous episode, on the lead up to this, with some of these traditional powerhouse clubs, you can't look at their record from the year before. It's literally a new team.
I know.
It's a new staff. There's not really we're going to give you 4 years to rebuild. Usually if you can coach and you have a good style and you're from a place that, cares about hoops and will have some NIL, you can reboot.
Yeah.
Right away. And I think it's a terrific hire, not just because they beat us, just looking at their style. It's like, oh, this looks modern. This looks, where they can get kids. West Virginia, like I said, has had success with Huggins, and the history behind that program is up there.
Yeah.
And so it's like this looks like a great hire and a fresh start, and it looks like it will be obviously a loss for us, but it won't be a backbreaker resume wise. Obviously, we have a ton of season left, but if we continue to play well and we look back, like, they're probably an NCAA tournament team, most likely, over 75% in my opinion. Obviously, they play in a tough league, the Big 12.
Yeah.
But if you go 500 in that league, you're probably an 8 seed or below. So I think they're going to be a tough out for a lot of people. Their guard play was terrific. And it was probably a good wake-up call for our guys because energy-wise, to start the game, we were flat. It's just plain and simple.
You could tell, yeah.
You could tell it was flat, and, you can make the argument. Was it travel? Was it just being not focused? I usually don't count those things with Gonzaga. Has been around the program a ton and how Coach Few and the staff handle, focus and those things. But it looked a little bit, like we were dead-legged and not really into the game as far as matching their intensity. More of a coast, not that we weren't focused, but more of a coast mode instead of attack mode. And hats off to West Virginia because again, their game plan was terrific, and they deserve the win. That's a great program win, obviously in general, but just to start a new era to get a win like that against number 3 team in the country, and
Yeah, one real quick question about Graham Ike and Michael Ajayi and their time played in the game. Like, help fans make sense of why they played so little in the game.
Okay, so if let's just say Graham usually plays until the first media, which is under 16. So if he's rolling, he'll get to about 14 and a half, maybe just under 14. Then Braden's at the at the bench. If he's not rolling, then it's usually that first media timeout. Braden Huff comes in, and I mean, he's playing so well. I don't have the splits in front of me, but he's probably averaging 15, 16 a game and whatever. So that you want to get him in the basketball game. And then Ajayi's kind of similar, because Ben started the first game against Baylor, and then he didn't start the second game or the third game. Anyway, Ajayi is similar to where if he's rolling, Huey will keep him in. It's not just about scoring too. There's defensive stuff he needs to do, and it's same with Ben on the backside. So when they're not rolling, you just go to the other guy, and especially in that first half, that crew with Braden and Ben Gray as your post was better than EK and Ajayi. Yeah. And then going into the second half, you kind of go who is rolling, and so. It's never like it's never a personal thing with Coach Few, obviously, or anything like that. But I think sometimes you just go who is playing well, and it's hard as a starter because if you miss your first couple, then maybe you're looking over your shoulder a little bit. I don't think it's that big of a deal with this club, but it's natural to have that. And so sometimes there's going to be nights where they don't play that much. Yeah. But if you think back to the San Diego State game, with Graham, remember Braden barely played in the second half, and he had 10 points in the first.
That's true, yeah.
Because Graham got rolling. Yeah. It's kind of just who's playing well. And so it literally goes game to game. So when you're looking at the box scores, and you're trying to decipher is there an issue? Sometimes it's just literally who's playing good, and who's not. So yeah, that's kind of how I would explain it to somebody if they, thought there was an issue or things like that. So it's just literally who's playing better. So yeah, we move into the second game, and I think a lot of people thought.
The Perimeter will be right back after a word from our sponsor.
Going good? Thank you, yes.
So yeah, we move into the second game, and I think a lot of people thought, oh shoot, we didn't get an opportunity to play Indiana,
Right.
And they got boat raced by Louisville, and that's another example of like horrendous last year. I think they were like 8-20 or something like that, and hire fresh coach, big program, get some new energy, new players, and you can turn it around. And again, getting one win doesn't mean you've turned the thing, but like you're like you look like a real college basketball team again. Like they were awful the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Like borderline, like you couldn't watch them. They were terrible, terrible. And so, it was kind of like bitter. It was kind of a good thing. It's like, okay, well, Indiana's ranked, so maybe that's obviously we want to play them. So if we get a chance to get out of here with a good win, and I thought the Indiana game kind of made sense. And this is not a knock on Indiana, but seeing the first game against Louisville and then watching our game, obviously we win by 16, but watching the first half, the Indiana team is not connected at all. Like, team-wise, you can just tell it's a bunch of guys that need the basketball and who wants to get theirs. I know it's early in the season and you have to kind of build that chemistry, but just off the first look, it looks like just guys that kind of want to get theirs, and it's hard to win that way. Mike Whitson's a Hall of Fame type coach, has been around forever. I'm not knocking that, but I just think personnel-wise, it's kind of a throw the ball to me and let me go to work, and that's easy to defend and easy to scout. And so, I mean, especially early with us, we were going inside. Graham had a great bounce back game, has 14 and 7, goes 6 for 8. Nembhard had a great bounce back game. He gets 11 and 13. Ajayi bounce back game, 5 and 9, 15 points, was terrific. He plays 31 minutes. So going back to your point, he was rolling, so he stays on the floor.
Right.
It's just kind of how it is. Graham gets under 20 minutes, but I think him and Braden kind of are in the split mode now anyway. Nolan was terrific. It goes 6 for 10, 3 of 5, has 15 points. Caleb Battle was solid, 16 points, but 0 of 6 from 3 and 5 of 15 overall. Braden plays 9 minutes, is right. So he gets 5 points, goes 2 of 6. It's the same thing. Graham was rolling, and that's who we're going to go with. And then Ben Gray got one of his better games up to that point of the season, goes 5 for 9, has 13 points. So I just thought overall we had a much better energy about us. That's usually going to happen with especially good teams after a loss. Obviously, it was probably pretty humbling after the West Virginia loss. And it was the right thing to talk about was our lack of energy against West Virginia really put us behind the 8 ball. And so we came out with a better energy in that first half, really shot the ball well, 21 of 40, 12 of 12 from the free throw line in the first half, and just kind of put the game out of reach. I know it was a 18-point game, but that Indiana team just looked defeated and just not connected. They just don't look like they're connected with each other. And they just got boat raced the game before, obviously. So it was fairly confident that going to watch the second half with a beer and not really worry about anything, and that type of deal.
Yeah.
So I thought overall our energy, like I said, and our 1-2 was much better in that game, and it showed. We ended up winning the glass by 15, 20 assists, only 13 turnovers, which is a solid Didn't shoot the ball well again from 3, which is getting kind of concerning. But again, hopefully it's akin to shooting in a ballroom and things like that. About the only bright spot was for Indiana was Omar Ballo, who was here before, then went to Arizona. Now I think got a big NIL deal and ended up in Indiana for his last year. Terrific game, 11-13, 4 rebounds, 25 points, 4 assists. You could tell he was pretty into it.
Yeah.
I think that's why Graham played more, though. Graham's a more stronger physical player, and Omar's more of a back-to-your-basket guy. So I think, going to your earlier question is why Graham probably played a little bit more, and he had a terrific game as well at 14. But it was interesting to kind of watch every time Ballo made a basket, he kind of looked at our bench and stuff like that. Because I was curious, how he really felt about leaving Gonzaga, because we never really heard from him. He never really played much. He literally didn't play for us. So he is a Gonzaga person, but he didn't really play a ton, literally significant minutes at all. So he's more of an Arizona Wildcat, right?
Yeah.
So, I was just curious to see what his reaction was going to be and what our reaction and how to guard him and stuff like that. And he answered the bell for them. He was the only bright spot offensively. I mean, they shoot at 38% in the first half and they go 53 in the second, so 45 overall. But he literally is the only guy besides Bakbo or Mackenzie, I can't say his Backo, MGBAKO, so I think it's Backo.
Something like that.
Yeah, has 13, but nobody else has double figures for Indiana. So a great bounce back win. They were 14th at the time. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't think Indiana is going to be very good this year, or they're going to be middle of the pack. So I don't know if that win is going to be great for us.
Yeah, no,
it's still a win, but it's not. I don't think it's going to turn into something great.
Right now, there are 53 in the Ken Palm, which is, for where they were ranked at, is very low to where they were ranked, and it's probably a case of that they haven't played a lot of teams.
It's true. Yeah. I mean, that's part of it, but it's still.
Yeah, I know. I agree with you though.
It's fascinating to see, when you get these wins. Obviously you turn into the biggest cheerleaders for those clubs later on, but I just don't think they're connected as a group. And I know it's super early, new guys, but if you're just watching how West Virginia played us and then them, then even Davidson, that Indiana team does not look connected at all. And that's not a knock on the coaching staff. Sometimes that's personnel. And that's something that can be fixed, but early on it looks like, who's going to get, I want to get mine. You know what I mean? We're on TV and we're playing Gonzaga. Let's try to get ours. And, oh God, we're down 18 already. And then same with Louisville. Oh my God, we're down 25. It's like, man, if you don't play together, things don't work out for you. So a good bounce back performance. Energy, like I said, was terrific. Ajayi needed to have a good game. Graham needed to have a good game. Nembhard needed to have a scoring good game. So it was a good bounce back. Play the 5th place game against Davidson, which I think our last time we played Davidson was the Steph Curry game, I think, or did we play them before that? I can't remember.
I didn't. I should have looked that up, but I kind of think the last time we played them must have been in the 2008 tournament.
Yeah, I think it was probably the last time. So that was interesting history. But as far as athletes and just the overall athletes, we had better ones and better players. I think it was a pretty simple game for us. And when I'm laughing, I'm not laughing at Davidson. They're a great program and they do have good players, but just overall it was a mismatch from that perspective. And so I didn't think we were ever going to be challenged in that game, and I was pretty correct for the most part. You know, the whole time. I didn't see how we would be challenged. I thought Graham was great. He has 18 points. Dusty Stromer was terrific, has 10 off the bench, obviously. Ben Gregg has his best game of the season, goes 8 for 10, has 24 points, 8 rebounds. Braden Huff, a nice bounce-back game, goes 7 for 11, 14 points. yeah, it worked out. We get 3 wins. We blow them out 90-65. Like I said, it wasn't really a match. We were up 11.5, excuse me, but it felt like we were firmly in control.
Yeah.
And so, I was just pleasantly surprised that we ended up playing Davidson. I thought Providence was going to win that game, or Oklahoma, or whoever they played before.
It was Providence. Yeah.
Providence. And so, overall, I think it was a solid tournament. You obviously want to win those things, but it's not the end of the world if you lose to a good club. We've never won the bad boy mowers Atlantis deal.
Yeah.
So I mean, the last time we went there, we were a Final Four team, I believe. It was the Joel, Corey.
Yep.
We lost to Michigan, and Michigan was good that year. So I think you can take positives. I thought most of the tournament we were engaged. There was those lapses against West Virginia, I explained, but coming back, going into this kind of little mini gauntlet that we got coming up with Kentucky and UConn, I feel good where we're at as a club. I mean, Braden's still playing well. What'd you say? Nembhard had 39 assists.
Oh gosh,
39 assists. I think it was in 3 games. Broke the tournament record. Great tournament for him. He's absolutely rolling. But again, it goes back to what West Virginia did. They took him out of the game offensively. He still has double-digit assists, but he didn't have the flow that he normally does and the control of the game with the face guard. So, hats off to Coach DeVries for doing that. But overall, I thought most of our guys played pretty good. Got a little taste of humble pie early, which is going to happen. In college basketball now, there's no one team, including ourselves, that's like unbeatable. There has been in the past. We're not that, obviously, but I thought just overall our execution and kind of our team vibe was good, and I feel okay with a 2-1 record coming out of that. Davidson shouldn't be a playoff, or a tournament team later, so that might help a little bit.
Yeah.
Hopefully Indiana turns into one, and my guess would be they'll be middle of the pack, upper middle of the pack of the Big Ten. But what is that? If that means NCAA tournament, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But they just didn't look connected, in my opinion. But overall, I thought it was a good, solid tournament for our guys, and a good, reminder that you can get beat, and you can, if you get out hustled and outplayed, and then their scheme's good, like it's hard to win.
Yeah.
And so
someone pointed out that we got St. Married, and and I was like, it's better to remind the guys that this will happen to them later in the season, and slowing them down obviously causes issues for them.
No, exactly. I think, like I said, the West Virginia game plan was terrific, and when I call games, watch games, I'm not just looking at Gonzaga. I'm looking at how they're defending. I like the chess piece of it. I like when coaches know they're outmatched a little bit personnel-wise and make up for it with coaching.
Yeah.
And I think it's and Fewey does that too. Like, he's one of the masters at it, and he was the master at it when we didn't have as much talent. And so when it happens on the other side, I kind of tip my cap a little bit. Yeah. And so, I think slowing us down, taking away Nembhard and his strength of pushing the basketball was brilliant. But overall, like I said, I think it was a great tournament. Fun game coming up on Saturday versus Kentucky. Like we said, they're 4-6 in the polls. Absolutely kind of rolling early. Now, let me put a little context to that. They're 7-0, but their only notable win is Duke, which is a very good one. But the other wins are Wright State, Bucknell, Lipscomb, Jackson State, Western Kentucky, and Georgia State.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying they're not a good basketball club, but it's going to be curious to see how they play against another good team like us. Obviously, a little bit of a drop in the rankings, but doesn't fall off the cliff. typical Mark Pope team, super efficient. They're shooting 52% overall, 39 from three, basically 75 from the free throw line, out rebounding teams by plus 10, averaging 96 points a game. Look like his BYU teams, but he's going to have more talent. It's going to be interesting because, BYU for a stretch there, didn't they always at least beat us once, like in the kennel, or they had like 3 straight wins in the kennel or something like that?
I forgot the record.
Something like that. Yeah.
They definitely had our number.
But they could never win the league and whatever, but they always had a good, game plan to play us. And so my point is, like, that staff is exactly the same. It's going to be curious to see what he tries to do against us, offensively and defensively. It's a great opportunity for us to have a better climate pledge game. We were terrible last year against UConn, and that was more of UConn, not us. But it'd be nice to play well there because the battle in Seattle is a kind of a special thing. It's special for a lot of fans over there because a lot of fans migrate to Portland, Seattle, whatever, Northern California. So it's an opportunity for people to, hop on a plane and go see a game. It's worth something. And so it's going to be a fun matchup. They got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guys in double figures. It's very similar to us. Good inside presence, really smart guard play, athletic enough, shoot it well enough. You know what I mean? Just a good basketball team. So it's going to be a really fun challenge for our guys to play the right way. And like I said, it's a great opportunity for some of our Seattle area guys to play well. Nolan Hickman, to Michael Ajayi, go play back home a little bit. And then hopefully play well in Climate Pledge, because last year that thing was it was bad.
It was.
In the second half, it was like, oh, you guys paid $90 a ticket or whatever. He's like, that sucks. You know what I mean? Like, it was bad. So looking forward to it. I think it's a terrific matchup. It's going to be a fun one. Obviously, I think we'll be favored slightly because we're technically home, quote unquote, it's a neutral. But I think this Kentucky team is scary because it's new life, it's new voice. I think not shadows is not the right word, but just and ego is not the right word, but like just the persona of Cal might be refreshing for just that whole basketball community. Yeah. And that's not a negative thing. He did a lot for that program, but just having a new voice, new energy, they probably feel like, well, we'd have nothing to really lose. You know what I mean? It's not like the pressure of a Cal team. It's like, oh, we're new. Let's just go out and play hard and have fun. And we have good talent. We have all the NIL. We can build this program with a different kind of vibe is what I'm trying to get at. So it's going to be a terrific matchup. We won the first 2, like I mentioned at the start of the show. But I think it's a whole different team.
Yeah.
Then
that's where I'm like, I ask a question of, is it hard to beat a Kentucky team 3 seasons in a row? And since this team's not really the same as it was, it's a hard thing to really, yes, it's probably true if it was the same team.
Yeah, with a similar personnel. But it's a totally different philosophy. It's a different club. And like I said, Mark Pope is a great coach, and I think it's an interesting hire, kind of out of left field. He played there, obviously has a track record, but I think there were bigger names that were brought up that I thought that were going to take it or at least consider it, and either turn him down or they didn't interview for him. Yeah. And so he got the opportunity, and so far it's been good. Now, we talked about who they played, but also, like, not everybody, you don't play Murderers Row right out the gate anyway. So sometimes, like, the early schedule is just what it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, this is a good example of, like, kind of what maybe Gonzaga will be doing in the future. Like, we'll play a couple of big games. But like, they play in a really tough conference.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right. And it was, what was that, episode 3? Somebody asked that. It was like us going to the Pac-12, and it's kind of like, that might happen. Like, just welcome to the deal. And I always talk about it is there's a formula. And if you deny that formula, you're an idiot. You think it shouldn't matter. Like, well, if it says in your contract, if you win 20 games and then if you win 30, 25, you know what I mean? And then make the NCAA tournament, like, well, you wouldn't do that too, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or try to do that. So, we got any listener questions?
Yeah, we have a listener question. We had.
The Perimeter will be right back after a word from our sponsor.
Try to do that. So, we got any listener questions?
Yeah, we have a listener question. We had Peyton Yu asked, what can Mike Ajayi do to get himself going? Obviously, his numbers aren't going to be the same as last year, but I think he feels like he has to force some shots. So, yeah, that's...
I think it's a very good question because he has been off and on in a good way. Like defensively, he's always been pretty good. Rebounding, scoring wise, I think he's had some bigger games, but also I think was it Peyton made a good point. Sometimes it's forced, but also in fairness to him, we talked about it earlier about the minute thing. When you see, Ben Gray checking in or, it's like 16 and a half, you're like, oh God, the next dead ball, I might be coming out. It's kind of human nature to take one and see if you get rolling. So I think maybe shot selection a little bit, or this is not saying he does not playing hard, but like maybe run the floor a little bit more. This is just general basketball sense. Try to get offensive rebounds so you can get some putbacks, get yourself going. Like I said, I think he's been good defensively and rebounding for the most part. He's not going to score like he did at Pepperdine. And even the scoring he got at Pepperdine was more of like throw it to him at 18 feet and let him take 4 dribbles and then shoot a fadeaway or whatever. Doesn't mean that's not skillful, but that's not winning hoops, and especially in today's game. And so I think he's adjusting to playing a more standard role of what his size and abilities are and what he would play at the next level, NBA or overseas. So I think that adjustment's been different for him. But I don't think he's been a detriment starting at all. I think he's been pretty good and solid with the opportunities he's got. I just think sometimes he has to work on a shot selection, but they're not like holy smokers, like I was going to use the other term, but it's inappropriate, but I think he can continue to get himself in a rhythm. He'll play a little bit more minutes, but for the most part, I give him a B+ so far, A-.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? On the season, it's been pretty good.
I mean, he fits a role in this team that I think, is very important.
Well, and that's a good point. And like for him, that role he's in is what he would play at the next level. And so part of, if you're thinking transfer portal and you go into a situation where you think you have a chance to be a pro, I'm not just talking about NBA, but just like have a chance to play overseas. People think like, oh, I'm just going to go play overseas. Like it's like the NBA. There's only a certain amount of jobs, and then there's only a certain amount of jobs that actually pay on time, and then there's also only a certain amount of jobs where you're in a westernized country. I don't care what anybody says, but that matters. Like where you living, okay? And so like it's still a competition to get to a good spot to where you're playing good hoops, and if you play well, you have a chance to move to EuroLeague and all that stuff. He has to play a wing like a 3-4 or a 2-3-4. That's what he's going to play at the next level.
Yeah.
Space the floor, slash or cut. He's not going to get it where they throw it to him at 19 feet and he gets to take 7 dribbles and go score it, which is great at Pepperdine. But so the point is, like, when you transfer portal somewhere, you should try to go somewhere where you're going to show what you can do at the next level. And here is why I think part of the reason he chose Gonzaga.
Absolutely.
And I think he's been pretty good. Like I said, B+, A- at times. But there is times where to get himself going, he needs to take better shots. But again, I always try to go player's perspective, human nature. When you know you're going to come out, so I look at it as a little of both shot selection, and then maybe that allows you to get more minutes, then you get a better rhythm. So it's tough.
Yeah.
But I think he's been, for the most part, good teammate and all those things. So yeah. Next week we'll talk about the big one, UConn coming up. We'll go over their kind of meltdown in Maui. They go 0-3, which was very interesting. I can understand like us losing one, but they lost 2 back-to-back close ones and then had a complete meltdown in the last one against Dayton, which they thought they probably weren't going to lose.
Yeah.
And then it was funny, Dan Hurley said he'll never play in an MTE, multi-team exhibition or whatever it's called. Did you see that clip?
I did not. I'll watch it before next week, though.
He said he's never going to play in a three-game tournament ever again. He's only going to play home and homes at arenas, just because he says he doesn't like the format. And so it was interesting to hear that take. He's obviously back national, terrific coach. I just wonder if he'll not regret it or just rethink that, because like going to Bahamas, Maui, Disney tournament, all those things are good for your program, good for recruiting, and scouts go to those. And so I'm just curious if he'll rethink that stance. Obviously he can do whatever he wants. He's earned that right and say whatever he wants. But it was interesting to watch that. But it'll be curious because they went from number 2 to 25.
I don't think I've ever seen that before.
I don't think anybody's ever seen it. And so it was a big drop, but obviously still a good basketball team. It's going to be a tough as nails game. Hopefully we're talking about a good win versus Kentucky, so some momentum.
Yeah.
But that's going to be a road game against UConn at Madison Square. I know obviously it's not their home court, but it's going to be a road game. It's going to be super tough, and we'll get into that, and then we'll talk about kind of the remaining non-conference schedule. We still have an LA trip that's important with UCLA on the schedule, but we'll kind of delve into that. And, so I appreciate everybody listening. I appreciate our sponsors, McGillivray Environmental, Idaho Central Credit Union, and New Love Coffee. See you next week.
Working this graveyard shift, I hate it. 6 in the morning, I'm off, I made it. When I get home, I'ma make this clear. First thing I'ma drink is a Rainier beer. I ain't no lush, shut up, hush. This is how I zone out. I'ma take this check, put it on me. I'm a much better boss than an employee. Just cause you got time, don't waste time. It's about time, feel the sunshine. You got time, but don't waste time. It's go time. Employee, I'm an employee cause I go OD on a BEAT. I'm a young OG, been killing these raps.
The podcast intro song is Get Up by Jinx Universe. Listen to his music on Spotify and follow him on social media at I am Jinx Universe. Produced locally in Spokane, Washington at Spocast.